Good morning, everyone. Myself, Abhijit Prakash, and today we are taking up My Greatest Olympic Prize by Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens was the son of a sharecropper and grandson of a slave. He achieved what no Olympian before him had accomplished. His stunning achievement of 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin has made him the best remembered athlete in Olympic history. The following is a true story of a friendship between the two great athletes that burgeoned during the 1936 Berlin Summer Olympics. The two friends are on your screen, Jesse Owens and Luz Long. Now, coming on to the text. It was the summer of 1936. The Olympic Games were being held in Berlin because Adolf Hitler childishly insisted that his performers were members of a master race. Nationalistic feelings were at an all-time high. From the opening paragraph itself, the autobiographical account of Jesse Owens is explicit and clear that Hitler had spread the myth that one ethnic group was superior to all others and refused to acknowledge that a black man could ever be successful. This affected African American track and field athlete Jesse Owens so badly that he almost failed to qualify for the long jump finals. The situation seemed hopeless until his rival, Luz Long, a German athlete, spoke to him encouragingly, giving Owens a tip that helped him qualify. Long knew that if Owens succeeded, it might jeopardize his chances of winning the gold medal since they were competing against each other. Nevertheless, Luz Long put winning a medal at risk and continued to urge Owens to try harder. Coming to the second paragraph. I wasn't worried about all this. I had trained, sweated, and disciplined myself for 6 years with the games in mind while I was going over on the boat. All I could think about was taking home 1 or 2 of those gold medals. I had my eyes specially on the running broad jump. A year before, as a sophomore at Ohio State University, sophomore is first year student, I had set the world record of 26 feet 8, 1 by 4 inches. Everyone kind of expected me to win that Olympic event hands down. So, Jesse Owens was quite confident of winning. Jesse writes, I was in for a surprise. When the time came for the broad jump trials, I was startled. Startled means surprised. To see a tall boy hitting the pit at almost 26 feet on his practice leaps. He turned out to be a German named Luz Long. I was told that Hitler had kept him under wraps, evidently hoping to win the jump with him. I guessed that if Long won, it would add some new support to the Nazis' RN superiority theory. After all, I am a Negro. A little hot under the collar about Hitler's ways, I determined to go out there and really show Der Führer and his master race who was superior and who wasn't. But an angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistakes. As any coach will tell you, I was no exception. On the first of my 3 qualifying jumps, I leaped from several inches beyond the takeoff board for a foul. On the second jump, I fouled even worse. Did I come 3,000 miles for this? Underquote. I thought bitterly. Jesse Owens was very angry with himself. To foul out of trials and make a fool of myself, under inverted comma. Walking a few yards from the pit, I kicked disgustedly at the dirt. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to look into the friendly blue eyes of the tall German broad jumper. Check out the physical appearance of the friend he is talking about. He had easily qualified for the finals on his first attempt. He offered me a firm handshake. Underquote, Jesse Owens, I am Luz Long. I don't think we have met. He spoke English well, though with a German twist to it. Glad to meet you, I said. Then, trying to hide my nervousness, I added, How are you? Jesse reciprocated. I'm fine. The question is, how are you? So Luz Long was worried about Jesse. What do you mean? I asked. Something must be eating you. So the language here defines the perturbation, and the worried, nature of Jesse Owens, who was like quite conscious of qualifying for the broad jump. He said, "Proud the way foreigners are when they have mastered a bit of American slang. You should be able to qualify with your eyes closed," said Luz Long. "Believe me, I know it," I told him, and it felt good to say that to someone. So what Jesse wanted was confidence, which was given as a support by Luz Long here. So he felt good. For the next few minutes, we walked together. I didn't tell Long what was eating me, but he seemed to understand my anger, and he took pains to reassure me. Although he had been schooled in the Nazi youth movement, he didn't believe in the Aryan supremacy business any more than I did. We laughed over the fact that he really looked the part, though. An inch taller, he had a lean, muscular frame, clear blue eyes, blonde hair, and a strikingly handsome, chiseled face. So the question might come on the physical appearance of Luz Long, and you have to write all the features which has been mentioned over here. Finally, seeing that I had calmed down somewhat, he pointed to the takeoff board. "Look," underquote, he said, "why don't you draw a line a few inches in back of the board and aim at making your takeoff from there? You'll be sure not to foul, and you certainly ought to jump far enough to qualify. What does it matter if you are not first in the trials? Tomorrow is what counts." So he gave him confidence that you do not be so eager to qualify that you lose the chance of even going to the finals, because tomorrow is what it counts. So you better be comfortable in doing it for qualifying, and then you give your 120% for the final round. Suddenly, all the tension seemed to ebb out of my body. Ebb out means get out, remove out, as the truth of what he said hit me. Confidently, I drew a line, a full foot in back of the board, and proceeded to jump from there. I qualified with almost a foot to spare. So what did Jesse do? He drew a line, a foot back of the board. So there might be a question from here also. And he qualified with almost a foot to spare. So he qualified easily. And that was what suggested by Luz Long. That night, I walked over to Luz Long's room in the Olympic Village to thank him. I knew that if I hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be jumping in the finals the following day. We sat in his quarters and talked for 2 hours about track and field, ourselves, the world situation, a dozen other things. When I finally got up to leave, so this shows, the second paragraph shows that how Jesse and Luz were, became so much familiar with each other that they started to talk not only about the game but about the scenario of the world outside. When I finally got up to leave, we both knew that a real friendship had been formed. Luz would go out to the field the next day, trying to beat me if he could, but I knew that he wanted me to do my best, underline that, even if that meant my winning. So the real sportsman spirit came out between both of them, as Luz wanted to give his best effort. Simultaneously, he also wanted Jesse Owens to give his best too. So the concluding paragraph is, as it turned out, Luz broke his own past record. In doing so, he pushed me to a peak performance. I remember that at the instant I'd landed from my final jump, the one which set the Olympic record of 26 feet, 5 by 16 inches, he was at my side, congratulating me, despite the fact that Hitler glared at us from the stands, not 100 yards away. Luz shook my hand hard, and it wasn't a fake smile with a broken heart sort of grip either. So it is like Luz was really happy for Jesse from the bottom of his heart. There's a line quoted by Pierre de Coubertin over here. You can melt down all the gold medals and cups I have, and they couldn't be a plating on the 24-carat friendship I felt for Luz Long at that moment. I realized then, too, that Luz was the epitome means apex, peak point of what Pierre de Coubertin, founder of the modern Olympic Games, must have in mind when he said, the most important thing in the Olympic Games is not winning, but taking part. The essential thing in life is not conquering, but fighting well. So triumph and disaster both are imposters. Like, we should give our best effort to participate rather than thinking about winning or losing. It was this act of Luz Long that led Owens to first qualify, then go on to win the medal and set a record. His stunning achievement of 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games has made him the best remembered athlete in Olympic history. More importantly, it led to a lifelong friendship between the two men, which ended only when Long was killed in action in World War II. Let us come to the storyline, the plot summary. It is a true story of the writer's life, an autobiographical account of Jesse Owens' experience of true friendship. The Chancellor of Germany, Adolf Hitler, was preparing with his performance to prove the superiority of the Iron race by winning the most gold medals in the events. But Jesse had another plans in his mind. He was determined to prove Hitler's theory wrong by taking home 1 or 2 of those gold medals. And with that goal in mind, he had trained hard and disciplined himself for 6 years. Moreover, a year before the grand event, Jesse set a world record of 26 feet, 1 by 4 inches in running broad jump at his university. So everyone expected him to win. But when Jesse reached Berlin and went to the broad jump trials, he was surprised to see that a German athlete named Luz Long was hitting almost 26 feet at the practice leaps. He also came to know that Hitler had kept him under wraps, hoping to win the jump with him. Knowing Hitler's cunning ways, Jesse got angry and more determined to win the broad jump and prove who was superior and who was not. But an angry athlete always makes mistakes. Jesse fouled in the first 2 trials, leaping by taking off from the several inches beyond the line. Then he thought bitterly, did I come 3,000 miles for this? To foul out of the trials and make a fool of myself? Jesse was clearly frustrated and kicked the ground in disgust. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder, and this was Luz Long, who had qualified for the finals. The friendly blue-eyed man offered Jesse a firm handshake. Then Luz encouraged him and suggested to leap from a few inches back of the board. His tip helped Jesse eventually qualify for the finals. The next day, Luz broke his own past record, and that inspired Jesse for a peak performance. When finally he landed from his final jump, Luz was the first man there to congratulate him. He shook hands with Jesse firmly, despite the fact that Hitler was watching them from the stands. This was a great display of true friendship and sportsman spirit from Luz Long. Jesse Owens went on to win 4 gold medals that year, but he feels that Luz Long's friendship was the greatest Olympic prize which he won in Berlin. In fact, their friendship ended only when Long died in World War II. Okay, this is the summary. I'll come with the question answers and more descriptions on Jesse Owens. Thank you very much.